Okay, so we are on Genesis 49, and we're going to do 1 through 15. And you said, Kathy, that's whose?
That would be the sons of Leah.
So 1, well, it would be, I guess, 3 through 15,
Yeah.
sons of Leah, Leah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and read because Kim's probably getting oriented. 49 verse 1. Then Jacob called his sons and said, gather yourselves together that I may tell you what shall happen to you in the days to come. Assemble and listen, O sons of Jacob, listen to Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might and first fruits of my strength, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. Unstable as water, you shall not have preeminence, because you went up to your father's bed, and then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. Verse 5. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Weapons of violence are their swords. Let my soul come not into their counsel. Oh, my glory, be not joined to their company, for in their anger they killed men, and in their willfulness they hamstrung oxen. Verse 7. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Verse 8. Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies, and your father's sons shall bow before you. Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stooped down and he crouched as a lion, and as a lioness who dares to arouse him. Verse 10. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the peoples. Verse 11. Binding his foal to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine, he washed his garments in wine, and his vesture in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, his teeth whiter than milk. Any thoughts?
Aren't you going to go through 15?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I got to 12 and I stopped. Thank you, Kathy. Good thought, Kathy. Zebulun shall dwell at the shore of the sea. He shall become a haven for ships, and his border shall be at Sidon or Sidon. Issachar is a strong donkey crouching between the sheepfolds. He saw that a resting place was good and that the land was pleasant. So he bowed his shoulder to bear and became a servant at forced labor. I was just thinking, like, I guess what distracted me was the wine. When we read about that in Revelation, I think we read about that in Isaiah, his garment, washing his garments in the wine, in the blood of grapes. It'll be interesting to see if there's connection there. My Bible has a little side note for verse 10. It says the royal lineage of Jesus is foreshadowed in the images of this text. The scepter was an ornate rod used by kings to communicate their authoritative dictates. Those in power could grant laws and enact judgment should one fail to submit to their rule. This verse refers to the divine king and lawgiver who would come from the line of Judah to fulfill the promises of this passage. To this king, all people, not simply those of a certain earthly kingdom, would owe their allegiance. Jesus, the king from the tribe of Judah, ushers in the kingdom of God and announces the rule and reign of God through his incarnation. One day, all people in heaven, on earth, and under the earth will bow at his very name. As the great suffering servant, his earthly ministry and his execution via a criminal's death seem to undermine his cosmic rule, but his victorious resurrection and glorious ascension vindicate his claim to deity and establish him as the King of Kings and Lord of Lords and the one to whom all people owe their worship. That goes with verse 10. Any thoughts before Cindy starts reading? John. All right, Cindy, whenever you're ready.
Okay, he does an overview, verses 1 to 28. With Judah and Joseph receiving the most attention, the father's blessing portrayed the future history of each son, seemingly based upon their characters up to that time. The cryptic nature of the poetry demands rigorous analysis for correlating tribal history with Jacob's last word and testament. See Moses' blessing on the tribes in Deuteronomy 33. Verse 1, in the last days. The key expression leading into the poetic content of Jacob's prediction for each son often signifies the last days in prophetic literature, or points more generally to, quotes, the latter days. That is, in the sense of in subsequent days. Overview 2 to 27. The names of the sons are not given in birth order, nor in the pattern of wife, then handmaid. The order is as per the mother. 1, the 6 sons of Leah. 2, 1 son of Bilhah. 3, 2 sons of Zilpah. 4, 1 son of Bilhah. And 5, the 2 sons of Rachel.
What was Leah's? How many?
6 sons. Other than the reversal of Leah's 5th and 6th sons, the others remain in chronological order in relation to their mothers. No other pattern is discernible. It may have been nothing more than a mnemonic device, or just how Jacob personally had come to recall them to mind. Verses 3 and 4. The seriousness of Reuben's sin were not forgotten. Its consequences erased his birthright. And whatever dignity and majesty he might have had, his tribe received scant mention in Israelite history and produced not one judge, prophet, military leader, or other important person.
Oh, wow.
Moses prayed for this tribe not to die out, Deuteronomy. Quotes, unstable as water, literally means, quotes, boiling, and it shows instability.
Could you do that list again? Not one judge.
No judge. Oh, no prophet. No military leader. Or other important person.
And then who Moses prayed that the tribe wouldn't die out?
Yes.
I remember that.
And the references for not producing these people, Judges 5:15, 1 Chronicles 5:1. Verses 5 to 7. The cruelty and anger of Simeon and Levi at Shechem were not forgotten. Their consequences affected Simeon, who, 1, became the smallest tribe in the second census of Moses, 2, was omitted from the blessing of Moses, and 3, later shared territory with Judah. Levi was, quote, scattered throughout Israel. They became, by God's grace and through their loyalty to God, the priestly tribe and residents of the cities of refuge. Neither possessed their own designated region in the land, although Levi's priestly position was certainly a privileged one. Quotes, hamstrung means to cut the leg tendons as a means of destroying the animal usefulness. 8 to 12. As strong as a young lion and entrenched as an old lion, to Judah's line belonged national prominence and kingship, including David, Solomon, and their dynasty, which is 640 years after this, as well as the one to whom the scepter belongs, that is Shiloh, the cryptogram for the Messiah. The one also called, quotes, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Reference Revelation 5:5. On the march through the wilderness, Judah went first, reference to Numbers, and had the largest population in Moses' census, again, reference to Numbers. This language describes prosperity so great that people will tie a donkey to a choice vine, letting it eat because there is such abundance. Wine will be as plentiful as water, and everyone will be healthy. This is likely a millennial prophecy. Verse 13. Although Zebulun's territory did not border the Mediterranean Sea or the Sea of Galilee, the tribe was situated to benefit from the important trade route, the Via Maris, traversed by sea traders moving through her territory. 14 and 15. Issachar, an industrious, robust, hardy, and stalwart tribe, lived up to the name of their founder, whose name meant, quotes, man of wages. Reference to First Chronicles. And that's it through 15.
My footnote for 49, 8 through 12 says, why was Judah, one of Jacob's most wicked sons, so greatly blessed? Well, my first question is, remind me again what Judah did that was wicked.
He slept with his daughter-in-law who pretended to be the prostitute and bore twins to her.
Okay.
And he's the one that sold Joseph into slavery.
And sold Joseph into slavery.
Oh, he was the one primarily responsible for that. Okay. Then it says that God chose Judah to be the ancestor of Israel's royal line of kings, referred to as the scepter, may have been due to Judah's dramatic change of character, and references 44, 33, and 34 of Genesis. And Judah's line would produce the promised Messiah, Jesus Christ. That's when he offered to replace himself with Benjamin.
I guess he's an example of a truly repentant person.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? All right, Kathy, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Genesis 49 is usually titled Jacob blesses his sons, but Jacob uses the word bless only with reference to Joseph. 3 times in verse 28, we're told that Jacob's words were a blessing upon the sons, and in prophetic sense, they certainly were, for Jacob announced what the Lord had in store for them in the future. There is a note here. The phrase in the last days from the King James means in the days to come. Sometimes in scripture, the last days refers to the days prior to the return of Jesus Christ, but not in this case. Okay, but Jacob's blessing was much more than that. For one thing, Jacob's words were a revelation of human character and conduct, as well of divine purposes. 3 of the sons learned that their past conduct had cost them their future inheritance, for we always reap what we sow. But something else was true. Jacob's prophetic words must have given great encouragement to his descendants during their difficult time of suffering in Egypt, as well as during their unhappy years wandering in the wilderness. Jacob assured each tribe of the future place in the promised land, and that meant a great deal to them. But even more, you find in Jacob's last witness and testimony a beautiful revelation of the gracious Lord who had cared for his servant for so many years. There's also a revelation of the Messiah who had been promised to Jacob's people. In these words of Jacob, you meet Shiloh in verse 10, salvation, or Yeshua in verse 18, the mighty one, the shepherd, the stone in verse 24, and the Almighty in verse 25, all of which point to our Savior Jesus Christ. As he addressed them, Jacob followed the birth order of his sons, beginning with Leah's 6 sons and closing with Rachel's 2 sons, Joseph and Benjamin. There was a note here. Issachar and Zebulun were Leah's 5th and 6th sons, but they were born after Bilhah and Zilpah each had delivered 2 sons. Jacob included Issachar and Zebulun with Leah's first 4 sons, but for some reason reversed their birth order.
There's probably a reason there that we don't get. I can't imagine that was an accident.
Yeah. The sons of Leah. God gave Jacob 6 sons by Leah, the wife whom he didn't want. She was distinguished by being the mother of Levi. She was distinguished by being the mother of Levi, who founded the priestly tribe, and Judah, the father of the royal tribe. Okay, then we have Reuben, verses 3 and 4. Jacob spoke directly to Reuben, his eldest son, but what he had to say wasn't very complimentary. An old sin he committed finally caught up with Reuben, and he lost his privileges as the firstborn son. Jacob gave that blessing to Joseph and his 2 sons. As Jacob's firstborn son, Reuben should have been a strong man with dignity who brought honor to his father and family, but he turned out to be a weak man who disgraced his family by defiling his father's bed. Unstable as water, in verse 4, speaks of both turbulence and weakness. Reuben's arrogant attitude and reckless way of life weren't fitting for a firstborn son. Water is certainly weak in itself, but turbulent water can be very destructive. It's difficult to find in Scripture any member of the tribe of Reuben who distinguished himself as a leader. The tribe declined in numbers between the Exodus and the entrance into the Promised Land, and there is a reference to numbers there. Moving from the 7th to the 9th place.
I feel bad for him though, because he knew from the beginning that he wasn't going to be, that Joseph took his place. Because didn't we read when he slept with his Dad's wife that he was trying to claim himself as the leader? That was a sign that he was saying he was the leader?
I can't remember.
And I feel like from early on he got the message that he wasn't going to have that position anyway.
There's a note here. Moses must have been concerned about the future of the tribe of Reuben, for he prayed, "Let Reuben live and not die, nor let his men be few." Deuteronomy 33:6. Okay. Dathan and Abram were Reubenites who gave leadership into the rebellion of Korah, which led to the deaths of thousands of people. The tribe of Reuben settled on the east side of the Jordan with the tribe of Gad and half tribe of Manasseh, because the land there was good for their flocks and herds. The army of Reuben didn't heed the call of Deborah and Barak when they fought the Canaanites. Apparently, they didn't have the resolute courage to enter the battle, but years later they did send soldiers to assist David at Hebron.
Wait a minute. So
Sim-
Deborah came from that tribe?
It said his army didn't go help Deborah and Barak when they fought the Canaanites. That was in Judges 5.
That's right. Okay.
Simeon and Levi, verses 5-7. Reuben's costly sin was lust, but Simeon and Levi were guilty of anger and violence in their unrestrained massacre of the Shechemites. It was right to avenge the raping of their sister Dinah, but it wasn't necessary to wipe out innocent people just to gratify their own desire for revenge. A note here, the statement about Simeon and Levi crippling an oxen in verse 6 shows how cruel the two brothers were, for dumb animals certainly weren't responsible for what happened to Dinah. God has a special concern for animals, and we better be careful how we treat them. And then there are references to Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Psalm, and Jonah. Since it was dangerous to be in their assembly, God arranged that the two tribes would not be able to assemble or do anything together. The tribe of Simeon was eventually absorbed into the tribe of Judah, and the tribe of Levi was given 48 towns to live in, scattered throughout the land. Indeed, the brothers were divided in Jacob and scattered in Israel. Judah, verses 8-12. Jacob had paraded the sins of Reuben, Simeon, and Levi, but he said nothing about Judah's suggestion that the brothers sell Joseph as a slave. Jacob realized now that what Judah did at least saved Joseph's life and got him to Egypt, where God had a work for him to do. Jacob also said nothing about Judah's sin with Tamar. Jacob's estimation of Judah had gradually risen higher, especially since Judah had offered himself as a surety for Benjamin, and surely Joseph had told Jacob about Judah's compassionate plea on behalf of the youngest brother. When Jacob and the family moved to Egypt, it was Judah whom Jacob sent ahead to make things ready. Judah had made some mistakes, but he had also made some things right with his father and his family. And that was the difference between him and his 3 elder brothers. The name Judah and the Hebrew word for praise are very similar, and Judah did live up to his name. He founded the royal tribe that gave Israel their kings, some of whom were godly leaders, and that ultimately brought Jesus Christ into the world. Judah was a conquering tribe and a ruling tribe, and it stayed faithful to the Davidic line when the nation divided. Since God appointed Judah to be a royal tribe, it was logical to associate the tribe with the lion, the king of the beasts. There's a note. 5 tribes are associated in some way with the animal life. Judah the lion, Issachar the donkey, Dan the serpent, Naphtali the deer, and Benjamin the wolf.
That might be an interesting thing to keep in mind as we see things mentioned throughout the Bible.
Yeah, you've got
What are
Judah the
they?
lion,
Okay, Judah
Judah the lion in verse 9.
lion, verse 9.
Issachar the donkey, verse 4.
Issachar,
2 A's.
Oh, mine has one.
Oh, this has 2. I don't know.
ISSAA,
Yeah, CHAR.
and he's a donkey.
Yeah, in verse 14.
Okay.
Dan's a serpent in verse 17.
Okay.
Naphtali, Naphtali,
NAPHTALI.
is the deer in verse 21. And Benjamin is the wolf in verse 27.
Thank you.
Okay. Jacob compared Judah to a lion's cub, a lion and a lioness. Who would dare rouse a lion when he's resting after feeding on the kill, or a lioness when she's guarding her cubs? The name Shiloh in verse 10 has given rise to many interpretations and speculations, but the most reasonable is that it refers to the Messiah, and there's a reference to Numbers 24:17.
So is he saying the word Shiloh in which verse? Or in
Verse
verse
10.
10, but what word? Is it for Judah or the
Uh,
ruler?
It says, has given rise to many interpretations and speculations. Let me see what my verse 10
Does
says.
anybody have Shiloh in their verse 10? Mine does not.
Mine mentions Judah, so maybe it's
Mine
Mine?
does,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cindy.
mine does not, but I took note one other time somewhere when I was studying this. And it says Judah is the Hebrew word is Shiloh.
So it is Judah. Thank you.
Mine says Shiloh.
Mine has a note about that. He comes belongs is a variant for the Hebrew Shiloh comes, meaning either the Davidic period or the Messiah, or it may refer to both David and to the Davidic Messiah.
So Shiloh, SILOH.
SHILOH.
Interesting note, Stan and I renewed our vows at Shiloh in Israel when we were there in 17.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. The phrase could be translated until he comes, whose right it is. The scepter that is the rule. Because the word Shiloh means whose is it? Whose it is. The ancient rabbinical scholars took Shiloh to be the name of the promised Messiah, who alone had the right to claim rule over God's people, Israel. The description in verses 11 and 12 certainly goes beyond Judah's time and speaks of the blessings of the kingdom age when the Messiah shall reign over Israel. Nobody in the Old Testament times would use a choice vine for a hitching post for his donkey, because such an act would certainly ruin the vine and probably cause the loss of the animal. Nor would the man's wife waste their precious wine by washing clothes in it. This is the language of hyperbole. It describes a land so wealthy that people so prosperous that they can do these outrageous things and not have to worry about the consequences. During the kingdom age, when the Messiah reigns, people will enjoy health and beauty because the devastating enemy of human life will have been removed.
So he's saying that just verse 11 is the kingdom age or the millennial reign.
Yeah, verses 11 and 12. It says verses 11, 12
Okay.
goes beyond Judah's time and speaks of blessings of the kingdom age. Mm-hmm.
Does anybody remember off the top of their head how to spell millennial? My brain feels dead this morning. MILL.
See, I thought I saw it here.
I can Google it if I need to.
Yeah, I don't see it here.
Enial.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Millenial.
IAL. Thank you, Cindy.
All right, Zebulun, verse 13. While not directly on the Mediterranean coast, the tribe of Zebulun was assigned land close enough to the sea to make the transport of goods profitable for the people. Zebulun was located on an important route that carried merchandise from the coast to the Sea of Galilee and to Damascus. Moses said, "For they shall partake of the abundance of the seas," references to Deuteronomy and Joshua. For the most part, the Jews weren't a seafaring people, but the tribe of Zebulun did business with the Phoenicians east of them and provided imported goods to the people west of them. However, they were also a brave people whose warriors had excellent reputations. Deborah and Barak praised the men of Zebulun for rallying to the cause and fighting Sisera. Elon, one of the judges from the Elon was one of the judges from this tribe. All right, then we're going to Issachar, verses 14 to 15. Issachar was situated at the eastern end of the fertile Jezreel Valley, sandwiched between Zebulun and the Jordan River. The judge Tola was from Issachar. The men of Issachar fought against Sisera, and David had soldiers from that tribe who understood the times and knew what Israel should do. Many of the men of this tribe were valiant in battle. We today think of a donkey as an ignoble beast of burden, but in the Old Testament times, kings rode on donkeys. The image in Genesis 49, 14 to 15, is that of a strong people who weren't afraid to carry burdens. The people of Issachar were hardworking and devoted to the soil. They were content with their lot and made the most of it. This tribe produced no great heroes, but their everyday labor was a help to others. After all, not everybody in Israel was called to be a Judah or a Joseph. Of Leah's 6 sons, 3 lost God's blessings because of their sins: Reuben, Simeon, and Levi. They remind us that purity and self-control are essential to godly character. Zebulun and Issachar were everyday people whose tribes served others but weren't especially known for their exploits. We need farmers and merchants if the machinery of life is to run smoothly. Finally, only one son, Judah, was preeminent among his brothers, the royal tribe that conquered enemies and produced kings, including the King of Kings, Jesus Christ. That's it for Leah's sons.
All right. Verses 1 and 2. Jacob then called his sons to his bedside to tell them about the days to come. Jacob's blessing was distinct from that of Isaac and Abraham before him. Isaac and Abraham passed on God's promise to their children, but Jacob went beyond that. He issued prophetic words about the future of each son, reflecting the destinies that their tribes would live out. 3 and 4. The first 3 sons were rejected from being able to lead the messianic line. Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, would have been the most natural candidate for the job, but he disqualified himself by defiling his father's bed. Years earlier, Reuben had slept with one of his father's concubines. That one adulterous decision came back to haunt him, keeping him from carrying the torch of God's messianic promise. 5 through 7. Jacob said of the next 2 brothers, Simeon and Levi, that they were men of anarchy and violence. In their anger, they killed men, and on a whim, they hamstring oxen. Jacob said, "Remember their deceitful attack against the inhabitants of Shechem in chapter 34. They may have consoled themselves that they were doing right because they defended the honor of their sister. But Jacob recognized their motives were mixed. They responded in violence because they cherished violence." 8 through 10. Joseph was Jacob's favorite, and I think He would have been Jacob's personal choice to continue the messianic line, but God had chosen Judah, and in spite of his failings, to father the line of kings leading to Christ, as the scepter will not depart from Judah, or the staff from between his feet until he whose right it is comes. He would be the new leader of his brothers, full of power and majesty like a lion. From Judah would come the kingly line of David and Solomon and all of their descendants. More importantly, Jesus would be called the Lion from the tribe of Judah. He is the one whose right it is to carry the scepter throughout eternity, and the obedience of the people belongs to him. Verses 11 and 12, the wine and milk imagery that Jacob chose to express Judah's reign, and by extension Jesus' reign, was meant to communicate richness and plenty. As the biblical storyline would clarify later, these promises would be fulfilled in part in the promised land, but they would await final fulfillment in the millennial kingdom of Jesus in the age to come. Verse 13, Jacob continued going down the line, addressing his two sons by Leah, Zebulun and Issachar. Zebulun would live by the seashore and will be a harbor for ships, indicating the future trade of the son's descendants. When the people of Israel would return to the promised land and apportion the land, the tribe of Zebulun would be given the land near the ocean, and they would make their living on the sea. Did we stop on 15?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ishkar, whose tribal inheritance was not far from Zebulun's, would not fare well during the return to Canaan. Ishkar leaned his shoulder to bear a load and become a forced laborer, a prophecy about the tribe's approach to the native inhabitants of the promised land. Even though Ishkar had strength enough to drive the people out as God promised, they grew comfortable living alongside them, and what began as a seemingly harmless partnership between the groups eventually led to Ishkar's slavery. The end. I guess I never realized that Ishkar became slaves, or maybe it just never stuck in my head. Any thoughts?
I find it strange that Simeon, along with Levi, were so violent and cruel, but Levi got to become the priestly tribe.
I know,
I thought the same thing, Lori.
Yeah.
and they were the what are those cities called? Like the respite cities or the
Cities of
Sanctuary.
sanctuary. Thank you, Janet.
sanctuary cities for people who committed crimes.
Yeah.
Well, and
amazed.
also as Levi's descendants were, Aaron and Moses and John the Baptist.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at how Jacob knew his sons individually and give them these blessings.
Yeah. Kim, what did you say about the descendants of who?
Levi's descendants were
Mm.
Aaron, Moses, and John the Baptist.
That's a good point.
Well, and also Eli. The
Oh.
others.
Eli
Janet.
was a loser.
I know.
Somewhere I read, Janet, that it wasn't as much blessings as it was predictions.
Yes. Right. But he sure knew them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kim. Who are the descendants again? Aaron?
Yeah. Aaron, Moses, Eli, and John the Baptist.
John the Baptist. That's what I was trying to remember.
That was Levi's descendants, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, you would have thought that he would have judged Judah just for the Tamar thing.
Yeah,
Kim,
she
give,
said,
I'm sorry,
I,
give them the breakdown of the other ones too. They have a breakdown of all 12 and who their
For their
descendants
descendants?
are. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, okay, if you want them, these are notable descendants.
Okay,
So not,
descendants, DESC.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, for Reuben and Simeon, there were none that were notable. And you have Levi.
Okay, hang on. No, no. I'm having a hard time today. Notable descendants.
Want me to send a picture of that?
Well, there you
Yeah.
go.
Do
Is
that.
it long?
No, it's not. I mean,
I'd like a picture.
Me too.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
I can make notes afterwards.
Me too.
I do like to try and follow the family lines, even though I end up confused. Any other thoughts?
Well, I'm trying to go back and find which concubine Judah slept with. I know about the Tamar thing, but was there one of Jacob's concubines, you said?
For Reuben, there was.
Not
For
for Judah.
Reuben,
Okay.
he slept with that's how he lost his birthright, but he had already lost it.
Yeah.
Maybe because Reuben was the oldest, maybe he had already slept with a concubine even before Joseph was born.
'49, I have a footnote about Reuben. It says the oldest child was supposed to receive twice the inheritance, but Reuben lost his special honor. Wild and uncontrollable, especially in his younger days, he had gone so far as to sleep with one of his father's wives. Jacob could not give an honored blessing to such a dishonorable son.
I don't know how easy that's going to be to read, but we'll try it.
What's that, Kathy?
That picture I just sent of that chart.
Oh, okay. You think it's going to be
Well, hopefully, I was having trouble getting close enough where I could get everything. So hopefully, it's clear enough that you can read it.
If not, I'll send another one out, Kathy.
Okay.
Oh, you can I can read it.
Yeah, I can read it.
Yeah, it's good. All right. Anything else anybody wants to share before we do trivia? I hope I have enough room for the rest of my notes. All right, then unmute for trivia. In the armor of God, what is the helmet?
Salvation.
Very good, Gretchen. You were quick. It is salvation, Ephesians 6:17.
Good job, Gretchen.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right. And tomorrow, everybody has to be wide awake. I feel like I'm dragging this morning. I don't know why. Ugh.
I've felt like that for
Well, I was gonna say maybe since like Friday or so, I just like been just a wee bit off, and I don't know what's causing it, but I'm trying. All right. Well, this concludes the reading of God's word for today. Until tomorrow,
For sure.
Sure.
certain.
have a good day, ladies.